Hi guys, Andreas on the Mainliner with a video whose title I haven't decided upon yet. I don't know, maybe a 10-year retrospective or something. This was a video that I wanted to do in the manner that I'm doing it now, but I was sort of inspired by Fred's comeback with 10-year retrospective. I am not, however, like Fred, where he is very systematic in his approach. Instead, I will do it in my own way. And my way was, and the thing that I thought about, because as I said, I'm not as systematic as like, oh yeah, what came out in the last 10 years, I will go back and see if I own it, if I listen to it, all that kind of stuff. No. So most of my collection that I have here in the UK I bought in the last 10 years or thereabouts. I've been in the VC pretty much around the same time as Fred was around. Maybe I was a little bit, I started uploading a little bit later. Doesn't matter. It was I was starting to collect again. So for those that may not know, I have a collection that I left in Greece. And when I moved here, and then after feeling more settled, then I started buying albums again, music, which I always done. So I've been doing this for a long time. But as I said, I'm not systematic. What I want to do is I will exploit something that may or may not be familiar to you. So you have your the albums that you bought recently, like you have your stacks here, like I do there, which is like stuff that I've bought in the last year or so, and then you have stuff that you have put on your shelves, and you go through the shelves, and there's always I don't know, this is my experience, I always pick out the same albums. It's like, oh this, put it back, no, not this one again. So but your eye always catches that specific album, and regardless. So there's like different shelves. There's like your eye just goes onto them. That's the first one that you notice for whatever reason, and yeah, it sort of happens. I don't know how it does, but it does. So I wanted to talk about albums that may or may have not been released within this last decade, or they have been reissued, basically I have brought them into my collection in the last 10 years, and are these kinds of albums. The albums that when I go through stacks, it's like the ones that sort of stick out for whatever reason. It's the first one that I pick, and I'm like, oh, put it back, because it's like I always pick this one. So yeah. So without any further ado, we might as well start. So I have a collection of various things. I haven't counted them. There's like some soundtracks, some electronic music, some indie, some jazz, some world music, some metal, whatever. And yeah, so we'll start off with the indie stuff. Yeah. Right off the bat, it's no point. Let's just get it out of the way because it's sort of expected. Moon-Shaped Pool, Radiohead. It's like, yeah. This album and In Rainbows is just like the best albums ever made, in my opinion. This is a more cinematic approach to what In Rainbows did. It's like taking film and then making it 3D and like panorama and like 35 millimeter kind of thing experience. This is In Rainbows through that kind of lens. Just fantastic. Both of these albums are just bloody amazing. They are. Anyway, yeah. So that's an easy one. I mean, if you follow this channel, you probably know that I have a very soft spot for Radiohead. So, we got that out of the way very quickly, very easy, no problem, no surprises either. This is an album that I listen to obsessively. I have it both in this format and also in box set, which I've shown like a few episodes ago. Now, you might say that, oh, hang on, Andreas, this is an old album. I said albums that I bought this decade. That's one thing. Second thing is that this album, this is Woven Hand, the self-titled album. This is their first one, I think. But it was originally released in 2002, but the first vinyl pressing of this was in 2015, and this is the first vinyl pressing of it. And yeah, it's a Spanish pressing, basically. So anyway, around 4 years ago, I think this was my sort of discovery and album of that year. I think I listened to this obsessively, and this is a fantastic album. It's not from this decade, but as I said, the first vinyl pressing was this decade, so kinda, sorta. But anyway, amazing album. This is from this decade, though. This is a very, very nice collab. This is Danger Mouse and James Mercer from The Shins. It's Broken Bells, their first album. This is a very good indie album. There's been many indie albums since. There was a bit of a lull, I think, around mid-2010s, like 2015 or thereabouts. It seemed that indie music wasn't going anywhere. There was like a lot more interest in... There's still a lot more interest in hip-hop and all that, but there has been a bit of a resurgence of indie, especially like post-punky and punky kind of sounding stuff, which in the middle of 2010 it wasn't there. 2010, early 2010s, there were a few bands. There was something happening. It's the lighter side of indie, I have to admit, but it's just so well made. The songs are really good, and when this came out, I was listening to this very, very obsessively. So there you go, Broken Bells. It's like, one of those albums that sort of I pick up when I'm going through the shelves, like, oh, that one. Maybe not. But I do listen to it. Another one that sort of made an impression, again, same sort of thing, and it's this one. It's Fleet Foxes. This is Helplessness Blues. Came out in 2011, so it's been out there for a while now. And what can you say? It's like it's a beautiful psychedelic pop, psychedelic folk, whatever. I mean, yeah, it's like Beach Boys in here. There's like beautiful harmonies. The lyrics also have something to say. I mean, they say something to me, and maybe it's because of my age, and maybe it's because I'm the time of that I bought this. It was like, oh yeah, hang on, I can relate with this, and it's just timeless. I think beautiful. I mean, both of the first two albums from Fleet Foxes are amazing. Third one I haven't been able to get into, to be honest, but I think that this one is the better one from the three. That's just me. Moving on with stuff from this decade. Something a little bit more experimental, a little bit more off the cuff, and something that sort of stood out for me. This is early 2010. This is Umberto. This is a release from, he's a British artist. He comes under the name of Umberto, but his real name is something else, obviously. Obviously. Yeah, he's British, basically. And this is music that could be in, an Italian horror film soundtrack. This is Goblin. This is Goblin worship, basically. And it's when I first heard it, like 9 years ago, I was familiar with Goblin already, but I just fell in love with this. And there has been like quite a few things out like that, and this sort of there has been a lot of resurgence of like old genres like this. Maybe the Italian soundtrack genre hasn't, like, library music kind of thing hasn't picked up as much as post-punk and cold wave and all that. But yeah, there you go, Umberto. This is the Prophecy of the Black Widow. This is a really cool album. This is just, one of the things that I played to death back in those days as well. Again, from Not Fun, because that was the label to watch out back in that day. They haven't been doing much, maybe lately, I don't know, but they've gone quiet. But this is one of those albums, and Speaking Lights, what is 96, which is great. And now that I didn't find it because I did it very hastily, but there is one other album that I would definitely show here. I should show from 2010s, which I need to find. So I don't know where it is. It could be in the bit with the psychedelic music, or it could be with the electronic music, unsure. Anyway, this is from 2010. This is sort of washed out kind of electronic music. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. It has been reissued so many times. It's unbelievable. This is one of the first copies from Not Fun. But yeah. And right now I can't remember the name of the band. Damn it. But that's what happens. Like you go through the shelves and like, oh, no preparation whatsoever. Jeez. Anyway, this is another record that is a little bit off the cuff, and this is important to me and like sort of sticks out, and because I always, pull it from the shelf and I always look at it, and I listen to it sometimes as well. And it's this one. It's Timmy's Organism, and this is called Reissue Rock with a Q in the end. This is an album that I bought when I went to New York, and I bought some really interesting records in that trip, but I can honestly say that out of that bunch, this was my favorite one. I have an emotional attachment to it because this is Timmy hero worshipping rock and roll, and it's very much feels from the heart, and his music is an homage to many things, and it's fun, it's nice, it's noisy, but it's fun. It's a really good fun record, and it's just so enjoyable. Yeah. So yeah, this is really good. This came out in 2012. So Reissue Rock, it's one of those things that I bought and I enjoyed a lot, and I didn't say that it's going to be the best of the decade. Definitely, like that's something that everybody will agree upon. Here's something that some people may or may not agree. But again, this is another record that sort of stands out in the shelves, and this is the Alalas with what is called. I think it's same title. It's the first album, the Alalas, and everything here, from the cover to the music to like the aesthetic, and it's wonderful. It's just fantastic. Yeah, it's the it's what you get watching, like, I don't know, movies about the 60s, about, if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it exudes that Hollywood 60s vibe. It may have never existed, most probably it didn't, but this is the kind of thing that, comes to my mind when I think 60s and California and Los Angeles and, the strip and all that kind of stuff. This might be just in my mind. When you were there, it might have been like horrible and miserable and terrible and dirty or whatever. But you romanticize it, and this is a soundtrack to that romanticization, if you like. It's a road trip. It's an imaginary road trip in California in the 60s, in, a VW van, basically, with flowers on the side and all that stuff. So, yeah, Ya La La's, it's brilliant. A bit of change in recent, again, from this decade. This is 2016, and this is Car Seat Headrest. Teens of Denial. This is their second official release, because they have like loads of releases on Bandcamp where they were discovered, and I think the latest releases are re-recording of previous Bandcamp release. But yeah, Teens of Denial. This is an album that I've listened to death in 2016, summer of 2016, and it was like was my go-to album, basically. It's so much more than an indie album. I mean, it does so many more things than just indie music. It's when I first spoke about this, I remember I was saying something along the lines, because it's things that come up, associations that come up when I listen to the albums. Sometimes is that it's the millennial version of the Smiths in a way. Yes, I'm not comparing them to the Smiths. I mean, there's no way that, it's sacrilege, I know, but it has that angsty element to it, which is adjusted to the other side of the pond, and 30 years later, basically. And it has a sense of honesty in what, how something about the lyrics they're very honest. And yeah, I don't know what to say. It's like there's so many ideas here as well. It's like it's not just one dimensional. Yeah, not every song is like exactly the same as the other one. They have like really long songs, like the Ballad of Costa Concordia. It's Anyway, an amazing album, really good one to listen to. I highly recommend it, and whatever. Another album that sort of 18 minutes. Another album that I sort of pick up from the shelves, and it's one that sort of I was very lucky to buy the album, and like a few months later see them live. Is this one? It's the Cosmic Dead, and this is the Exalted King. Yes, Exalted King. This is the Cosmic Eye version, so this is the first pressing, basically. And the Cosmic Dead, Scottish band. The first time I saw them live, it was one of the best live performances I have ever seen, and it was truly psychedelic. It was out of this world and just amazing. And this is a fantastic psychedelic, modern psychedelic album. There have been so many out there, and I'm not saying that this is the best one. I mean, I remember back in the day I was showing Cosa Sui, and then, and the Papier records, and like, what was the label? I can't remember. Never mind. I was like, oh, this is really good. And then there have been so many releases out of that label that it's like, really? I cannot do it. And and I think that there's like a lot of psychedelic music that has been released and so limited because there's limited interest from a factual point of view, but also there's like intentionally limited so that they can get value and they can get sold basically because collectors. So anyway, The Exalted King, really strong release, and one of the ones that are sort of encapsulating the era of the time that it was released. It was when was it? 2016 maybe? I want to say. Yeah, probably 2016 I would say. But yeah, this is bloody brilliant. Yeah. Alright, so a few more sort of indie kind of. One record that this is like genuinely one of the best of the decade for various reasons, because it's so left field, it's so off the cuff, it's so just out of nowhere. And when I say out of nowhere, I don't mean that it doesn't have musical roots, because it does, but it's yeah. At the time it came out, I don't think that there was anything out there like that, and I think that they do have a unique style, and this is visceral. This is just a punch in the gut, basically. It's so British. It's I have nothing to say about other than just brilliant. If you don't get it, it's a shame. Once you do, you will get locked in, and like, I was listening to this like 4 or 5 times a day when it came out. It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Yeah. It's the fall with electronic music in the background, like just one guy singing and the other one on a laptop vaping. That's the band. It's unbelievable, but it works. It's just works. And finally, an album that is not from this year, but it has been reissued 2013. This is the original is from 1982, and I was very happy to find this. And get the reissue. This is Get Stoned Easy by High Speed and The Afflicted Man. Afflicted Man is a psychedelic punk rocker. That's the best way to describe him. And this is like 2 sides of crazy. This is, if you've ever heard High Rise, this is the British equivalent of High Rise, basically. I think it's like it shares a lot of that kind of aesthetic, just fuzzed out guitars and wah-wahs and just endless solos, and just goes on, and yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. Right. All right. Let's talk about, and there's one last one that is sort of sticks out when I go through the shelves, and this is this one, Wolf People, Steeple, came out in Jaguar 2010, and this is one of the loveliest pieces of progressive psychedelia, I would say. It's wonderful. I don't know why people don't know this. I think that it has to do with the fact that they are confusing Wolf People with some other wolf named band that has nothing to do with these guys. Also, their second album, I felt that it wasn't as strong as this one, but this is brilliant. This is just lovely. Listen to Salisbury Sands, uh, Castle Keep. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't know. I really love this album, and I wish that more people knew about it. And one of the things that it does have is that it's a little bit, it takes its time for the music to sort of kick in. There's like a little bit of, like, takes a bit of time to follow, to lead in. But once it does, and if you follow it up until that point, then you're good to go. Right. Where do we go from here? Oh yeah. 25 minutes. It's alright. It's okay. Everything's good. Everything's good. This was reissued in this decade. However, this is not the reissue. This is the original, but it sort of gives you an idea about where I have been in the last, like, I don't know, 4 years maybe or so. I have been rediscovering 80s music. I've always loved 80s music. I've always loved the Smiths. I always loved The Sisters of Mercy. I've always loved Joy Division. I had a soft spot for 80s music, but I think that this is the album that sort of, I don't know if it exemplifies that the sound that I like. I like For Against. I knew For Against, but I hadn't heard the Chameleons. And yeah, I like this dream pop, new wave kind of sound. So this is the kind of thing that I really, really like. And this is the Chameleons. I did buy the reissue, which annoyed me because it was spread across two LPs. It's like, oh yeah, it's remastered and it sounds better. I don't give a shit. I want like a single LP, please. And yeah, I found an original, not for $2.99. Unfortunately, I cannot remove that sticker because it will probably ruin the cover. But yeah, I got this for a really good price, and yeah. So that's, I think that covers the sort of rock music, indie. We'll do two sort of psychedelic stuff that always prop up when I'm looking through the records. First up, Klaus Schulze, X10. And this could be found, I think, as single records with, like, one is called, like, maybe it was released as a CD like that. I don't know, I'm not sure. This is a reissue from 2009, but I definitely got it around 2010, 11 or something. And this is just like, if you want to fly in your mind, this is the perfect music to do it. I mean, yeah. This is Klaus Schulze. I mean, if you're gonna listen to one album from Klaus Schulze, this is the one. This is what you should listen to. The second one is an album that I've shown quite a few times, and I come to again and again. It's a fantastic listen. Came out, I don't remember when. Original from 1977, Profondità, and this is from Paolo Ferrara, and this is a reissue of 300 copies, number 253. I think that probably these are quite expensive right now, and this is probably one of the better or the best library psychedelic music from Italy that I think I've heard. Yeah, I'm talking about library music, all right? Yeah, just because I think this is what this is. Speaking of library music and music that plays in cinemas, here are some Soundtracks. Beyond the Black Rainbow, Sinoa Caves. This is the keyboard player from Black Mountain, memory serves me right. And this is from a movie by the same name, which I watched. It's from a Greek guy called, what's his name? Cannot remember. He made Mandy, which I haven't watched yet, but I've heard that is quite epic. And I've watched this one, which is not a very good movie. I love the visuals. It's like old 70s and it's like B-movie, and the music is sort of imposing and really sort of moody and all that. And this is fantastic, fantastic soundtrack. Amazing, highly, highly, highly recommended. Yeah, it's very fucked up, and yeah, it is a homage to all these 70s B-movies, sci-fi B-movies, but made well. The script is a little bit, I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, but that's how those movies were, really. So I think that the guy got a point. And I need to watch Mandy as well, because I've heard that is epic. Speaking of another soundtrack, this was released in 2002. However, I'm showing this because this is the vinyl release. This is the first vinyl release, which is white vinyl, and this was released in 2012, I think. 13. So, and I remember watching this movie in the cinema, and I remember that the soundtrack struck me. It was mesmerizing, and I was looking it up around the time that this got released, and I was like, oh, it's available vinyl. I wanted to buy the CD, but I saw that it came out on vinyl, and I just grabbed it. It's beautiful. It's from Cliff Martinez, who's done The Nick, which is amazing as well. This is just beautiful. As I said, it's mesmerizing. It has all these sort of bells and things, and like sort of gamelanish kind of. It's just beautiful, highly, highly recommended. Right, let's move on a little bit quicker because it's 32 minutes and I've taken enough of your time. Some of the records that are sort of jazz, international, kind of, well, whatever have you. So potentially, if you've been around in the VC for a while, maybe you're familiar with this one. It's Batsumi. I got this on the date it was released out of sheer luck, because I was in the record shop, and they had like 10-15 copies of it, and I said, oh, what is that? It's like, oh yeah, it's South African, blah, blah, blah. I put it on. I listened to it like 5 seconds maybe, and I was like, "Yep, get me a copy." Yeah, so yeah, this is the first edition basically, and yeah, this is just fucking brilliant. It has been reissued a few times now, so you can find it because initial copies just disappeared. But yeah, this is just bloody brilliant. Another one that was a recommendation from here in the VC, and yeah, it's African Skies by Phil Cochran and Legacy, and it's a live recording, and my oh my, this is very special to me. I don't know, it has a very special place in my heart. Came out in I would say 2015, but I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how easy it is to find this one. I think that it's probably going to be a little bit trickier. Yeah, just bloody brilliant. Nomos. This is what's his name? Craig Leon. Sorry, Craig Leon. He was a producer of. He produced Suicide's first album, and he made 2 electronic albums. One being this, and this is a beautiful electronic minimal album. I don't have much to say about this. I have this version. I have the Revenge International 2 LP version, and I have the second, which is like Cosmic Music something Volume 1, and I also bought Volume 2. And yeah, it's one of those things that this is how it sort of originally was. This is what looks more like the original copies. This is the Superior Viaduct reissue from when? Doesn't say. Meh. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Synth Minimalist, what does it say? New York Synth Minimalism. Yeah, there you go. Henry Rollins says, oh, it's finally back. So if Henry Rollins says that this is good, this is good. Don't listen to me. Just listen to Henry Rollins. He knows. And an album that like, no one has shown before. Just no, seriously, no one has. I've shown this, and the reason why nobody has shown this is because it's very it's very obscure. Not because it's weird or whatever, but because it's just the nature of it. It's this one. This is what's her name? Pari Zangene. That's her. She's wearing sunglasses because she's blind. I've read her story. And she made this album for the intellectual development of children and young adults. Back in the day, 1976, I think this is before the Cultural Revolution or whatever they had there, before they overthrew the Shah. And yeah, this is from Iran. This is children's music, and this is Iranian folk songs that have been sort of made a little bit more modern, slightly more modern potentially, and sang by this lady Pari, and they are, I don't know, they have something that it's one of those records that, you know, if I were to sell everything, you know, this is, you know, most of these and keep like a few. This is one of the records I would definitely keep. Unfortunately, it's 150 copies printed. It's very obscure. Yeah, this is her name. If you want to look it up and, you know, try to find it online or like, you know, listen to it, but yeah, I don't know. It's just a shame because it's a really nice record, and I don't know, it sort of touches me in a way. It makes sense to me, and yeah, and it's very special because it was just a discovery out of like the blue, and you know, it's one of those things that now you see them, now you don't, and yeah, and that's it. That's all I had to say about that. Finally, 38 minutes in, I would be remiss if I didn't say anything about metal music, because in this house, yeah, we listen to metal as well as everything else. So these are 3 records that sort of stood out the last 10 years, and the first one is this one, Nails and Silent Death. Yeah, I would say I've listened to this a lot, and it's easy to listen to this a lot because it's very short. It's like 20 minutes, and it's it's like an espresso shot. It's like you can have it, like, ooh, all right, yeah. I would listen to this going to work. So yeah, it's a good way to start the day. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's one of them. It's brutal. It's they know what they're doing, and The breakdowns are just, yeah. Once you get into it, then you get over the fact that the music is hitting you like a sledgehammer over the head at 160 BPM. It's fine. Yeah, if you went through the first hurdle, and then after that it's all easy sailing from there. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you do it, and I know some people that were hesitant to do it, this is you, Roger, but they found the value in it, so that's good. Another one that made this decade, 2015's Batushka, same Liturgia. So yeah, Polish band, had an unfortunate split a couple of years ago, where the main, the person behind the concept split into another group, and the band that has a name now just has a name, and they were just session musicians essentially. But yeah, this is their first brilliant album, and yeah, it's great. It's Russian chants with black metal background music, and it's just goes so well. Just these two go like peanut butter and jelly, man. This is really good. Peanut butter and chocolate. It's just really, really good. Yeah. And finally, something that it's like, you have, I guess that you have to be from Greece and like heavy metal to like this, but Eternal Champion. This is by no accident being released by No Remorse Records from Greece. This is a US band, but it's epic as fuck. This is, I got it in 2016 when it came out. I have a CD version of it, and this is the first 100 copies, which I had pre-ordered on red vinyl. And I do at some point, I show this album and I talk about this for 40 minutes in one of the videos that I did a few years back. And this is one of the albums that I enjoyed the most, even more than Radiohead. It gave me a lot more pleasure. Radiohead they're more cerebral. This is like ice cream. You love it. It's not good for you, but you really like it, and you just scoop it up, and that is it. Old-fashioned heavy metal sounds old-fashioned, is old-fashioned. Thematically, iconically, no. Graphically, or branding wise, whatever you want to call it, it just, everything fits. I don't like the tash on the guy, but there you go. I have a problem with people with tashes. I'm sorry, Aaron, if you're watching this, but yeah. Eternal Champion, the Armor of Ire, and they're playing live in January. I might go and see them. It's just that they're not playing alone, and it's an all day thing, but I'm very tempted to go to see them. I don't have anybody to come with me. I would just go alone, because I will go there alone. I don't give a shit. So anyway, yeah, these are some records that sort of stick out in my library, in my shelves. When I'm going through things, I'm like always sort of picking them, and there's a reason behind it. Usually a subconscious reason, potentially. But yeah, I just want to share that. This is 44 minutes. I seriously doubt anybody will actually watch the whole thing. But if you do, you're a champion. You're the kind of guy that I want you to subscribe to my channel and press like, leave a comment, and don't forget to press the bell, and then write that easy 35-digit number, so that when you get a notification, I don't know, whatever, just do whatever you want. I hope that you're having a good time. Hope you are relaxing, and hope that the new year finds you well. You, your family, everybody around you, and the new year brings everything that you want. I cannot think of anything else. And here's to another decade of music ahead, which will hopefully be as interesting as this decade has been. And it's probably going to be like that, I think. We'll see. Right, see you guys around.